The departure boards updated without mercy. Alliance Transport 7 now boarding priority delegates under 100 cycles. Sarilith Vaylor did not look up. She had learned over the years that hope was often disguised as a blinking line of text. A clerk 2 meters away pretended not to stare at her ears. They were long, elegantly curved, rising through silver hair like quiet declarations of heritage. Once they had marked her as desirable, pure lineage, refined genetics, political symmetry. Now they seemed to mark time. Another announcement chimed. Secondary candidates under 90 cycles, please proceed. A whisper drifted behind her. She's what, 130? 132. Too seasoned. Too independent. Sarilith smiled faintly. If you are going to audit my age, she said without turning, at least round upward. It flatters the survival rate. The whisperers scattered. She remained at the docking platform while ships lifted into the stardusted sky, engines bending gravity into elegant arcs. The transports did not hesitate. They did not glance back. Across the platform, a young diplomat, barely past 80 cycles, adjusted her ceremonial sash and tried not to look relieved. Sarilith did not blame her. Youth had become fashion. Experience had become complicated. A hovering drone approached Sarilith and projected a polite blue hologram. Lady Vaylor, it intoned, your boarding clearance has been deferred. Deferred, she repeated, pending review of strategic optics. She folded her hands behind her back. Optics. Yes. Has my face developed a gravitational anomaly? The drone paused, clarification not found. Of course not. Another transport roared upward. The shockwave rippled through the platform's magnetic field. No one reached for her. She had negotiated ceasefires on collapsing moons. She had ended a trade war with 3 sentences and 1 well-timed silence. She had once convinced a warlord to surrender by complimenting his architectural taste. Now she was too old, too experienced, too inconvenient for alliances built on symmetry and youthful promise. A cluster of officials gathered near the boarding gate. She would overshadow him. She would correct him in public. She would remember his mistakes. Yes, Sarilith murmured softly. That is generally how memory works. Did you say something? A nearby aide asked nervously. Only that I am delighted to be considered memorable. The aide flushed and fled. The final Alliance transport signaled ignition sequence. Its hull shimmered in gold and white, emblazoned with the crest of the Aurelian High Council. Seats aboard that vessel meant renewed relevance. Her name did not appear. For a moment, just a moment, something hollow opened beneath her ribs. It was not fear. It was not humiliation. It was the quiet realization that she had been set aside without confrontation, discarded politely. A new vessel entered the docking corridor unexpectedly. Its signature was human, less ornamental, more practical. The hull bore cargo markings and a modest diplomatic emblem slightly off-center, as if someone had applied it while distracted. The ship docked with a soft magnetic lock. The boarding ramp extended. A man stepped down, adjusting the collar of his coat as if he had just woken from an inconvenient nap. He scanned the platform with open curiosity. "Excuse me," he called to no one in particular. "Is this docking platform 12 or have I miscalculated again?" A technician blinked. "It is 12. Excellent, that would have been embarrassing." His gaze moved across the gathered officials and then settled on Sarilith. He did not glance away. He did not assess her as inventory. He walked toward her. "Ambassador Elias Ward," he said, offering a hand. "United Earth Trade Coalition." She studied him. Lady Sarilith Vaylor, formerly of strategic significance. He raised an eyebrow. "Formerly." "Optics," she said. He looked around at the nearly empty platform. "Ah, I see. You've been strategically not boarded." Her lips curved slightly. "You adapt quickly." "I've attended budget committees," he replied. "I recognize exclusion when I see it." Another announcement chimed overhead. Final boarding call. The last Alliance transport lifted away. Silence settled. Elias glanced at the departure board. You were meant to be on that. Yes, and you are not. Your observational skills are formidable. He studied her more closely now, not her age, not her ears, not the faint lines earned from decades of diplomacy. He studied her stance. You negotiated the Heliox Accords, he said suddenly. Her eyes flickered. You are familiar. I had to read about it during transit. You prevented a three-system collapse with a trade concession involving mineral dust. It was conductive mineral dust, she corrected automatically. He smiled. Of course it was. She felt something unexpected then. Recognition, not of her youth, not of her beauty, of her competence. A cluster of council aides watched from a distance, whispering again. Elias noticed. Why aren't you boarding another ship? He asked. Because, she said evenly, I am considered too old to enhance anyone's future. He stared at her. That is the most inefficient reasoning I have heard today, he said. And I arrived from Earth. She almost laughed. Your species values age differently, she said. Not always, he admitted. We make equally foolish errors. But we try to correct them loudly. Another cargo drone rolled past. The platform grew emptier. You have somewhere to be, she asked him. Yes, he said. I came to finalize a minor trade extension. And now? He glanced at the departure sky. And now, he said thoughtfully, I appear to have arrived at precisely the wrong moment. She tilted her head slightly, or the right one. He looked at her long ears, at the dignity in her posture, at the subtle ache she refused to display. Lady Vaylor, he said carefully, if they will not board you for optics. She arched a brow. Perhaps they lack imagination. For the first time that evening, the hollow feeling beneath her ribs shifted. Not gone, but altered. The human stood beside her as if he had chosen the position deliberately. And for the first time since the announcements began, she was not standing alone. The docking platform did not empty as quickly as Sarilith expected. Word traveled faster than starships. Elias stood beside her, hands folded behind his back, watching a pair of council aides pretend to examine a cargo manifest that was clearly upside down. I assume they are not inspecting fruit, he murmured. They are assessing scandal probability, Sarilith replied. Ah, is it high? Immeasurable. He nodded solemnly. Excellent, I prefer ambitious beginnings. A shuttle lifted from a neighboring dock, engines humming with practiced indifference. Elias glanced at her again. You said you were considered too old to enhance anyone's future. That is the diplomatic phrasing. And the undiplomatic one. She allowed herself the smallest pause. Too visible, too experienced, too likely to correct mistakes. He tilted his head. You make that sound like a list of qualifications. It once was. A junior official approached, clutching a tablet like a shield. Lady Vaylor, he began nervously, the council regrets the scheduling conflict. Do they? She asked pleasantly. Yes, it is believed that future opportunities may arise. Elias leaned slightly closer to the official. Define future. The official blinked. In due course. Ah, Elias said. The mythical due course. We have that on Earth as well. It lives beside soon and under review. The official swallowed. Sarilith saved him from further suffering. You may inform the council that I have received their message. And your response? She glanced at Elias. He met her eyes without flinching. My response, she said calmly, is under consideration. The official retreated as if escaping a gravitational anomaly. Elias exhaled softly. You handled that with restraint. I have practice. I would have asked for a timeline and a written apology. You would not survive our council. I rarely survive our own. A silence settled between them, not uncomfortable but charged with possibility. A small cargo drone rolled past, projecting a soft blue grid over Elias' ship. Your vessel is modest, she observed. Yes, it lacks gold trim. We compensate with functional wiring. Functional wiring is underrated. He smiled. You truly intended to board that Alliance transport. Yes. And now? She looked toward the open stars beyond the docking field. Now I am apparently decorative. That seems inefficient, he repeated. She studied him carefully. You are persistent. I am human. That is your explanation. It covers most behavioral inconsistencies. She almost laughed again. The last of the Alliance ships disappeared into the slipstream corridor. The platform quieted. Elias checked the time on his wrist console. My trade extension meeting has been delayed, he said. By choice. By inspiration. Her long ears angled slightly upward. That sounds dangerous. It usually is. He turned fully toward her now. Lady Vaylor, may I ask something impolite? You may. Do you want to board a ship because you believe in the Alliance, he said slowly, or because you refuse to be left behind? The question struck deeper than she expected. I do not fear being alone, she said. I did not ask about alone. She regarded him steadily. He continued, you have commanded fleets, negotiated wars. You do not need validation. No, she agreed. But you resent dismissal. A faint smile touched her lips. You truly are persistent. Is that a yes? It is a confirmation that I am not furniture. He nodded. Good, because furniture does not intimidate entire councils. Intimidate. They avoided you, he said. Not because you are obsolete, because you are formidable. She felt the words settle in her chest like something long misplaced. Before she could respond, a sharp chime echoed across the platform. An emergency transmission activated overhead. Attention Dock 12, Council inquiry initiated. Sarilith closed her eyes briefly. That was fast. A holographic projection flickered into existence before them. 3 counselors appeared, their images slightly distorted by signal delay. Lady Vaylor, one began, voice smooth and brittle. We have been informed that you remain on Dock 12. I have not been relocated, she replied, and that you are in discussion with a human delegate. Elias gave a small wave. Ambassador Ward, I prefer the term discussion partner. The counselor's eyes narrowed. Your presence here is unofficial. So is gravity, Elias said. Yet we manage. Another counselor leaned forward. Lady Vaylor, the optics of extended proximity are complicated. Optics again, she murmured. We would advise discretion. Elias tilted his head. Discretion regarding what precisely? The counselors ignored him. Sarilith lifted her chin slightly. You deferred my boarding clearance. For strategic balance. And now you advise discretion. Yes, she considered that. Elias watched her carefully. You fear perception, she said quietly. We protect stability, a counselor replied, by discarding assets, by prioritizing renewal. Elias stepped slightly closer to Sarilith. On Earth, he said conversationally, we discovered something fascinating. Renewal without memory leads to repetition. One counselor scoffed. This is not Earth. No, he agreed, but it is a galaxy. Sarilith felt something shift. The hollow ache from earlier began to transform, not into anger but into clarity. You left me at this dock, she said evenly, and yet you remain concerned about how I stand upon it. Silence flickered across the hologram. The lead counselor's voice cooled. Lady Vaylor, we expect your cooperation. And if I decline? Decline what? Elias asked lightly, standing. And you remain? Yes. Why? He considered. Because, he said at last, when I stepped off my ship I expected paperwork. Instead, I found someone the galaxy was pretending not to see. Her long ears tilted slightly. And you object to that? I object to waste, he said, especially when it looks like brilliance. For a moment neither of them spoke. A faint hum from his vessel carried across the platform. Ambassador Ward, she said quietly. Yes. What exactly are you proposing? He looked at the stars above the docking field. I am not entirely certain yet, he admitted. That is not reassuring. But I am certain of one thing, and that is, you deserve more than polite abandonment. The words lingered between them like a new trajectory forming. Ships might have left, but something else had just begun to arrive. The signal began to laugh. It did not scream or hiss or transmit ancient cosmic wisdom. It laughed softly at first, like someone trying not to interrupt a serious meeting. Armin stared at the holographic display floating above the console. That, he said carefully, is not standard protocol for unidentified interstellar phenomena. Lyra leaned back in her chair and folded her arms. Maybe it finds us funny. The waveform rippled again, and the speakers emitted a warm, almost embarrassed chuckle. Armin rubbed his temples. We are being mocked by the universe. The research station orbited a quiet blue star at the edge of mapped space. Quiet until now. The signal had arrived from beyond the Uit drift, carrying impossible harmonics that bent their instruments into philosophical crises. It's not random, Lyra said, fingers dancing through layers of data. Their structure, patterns repeating every 12 seconds like a heartbeat or a punchline. The laughter shifted, modulated, and then a voice emerged, filtered, mechanical, but unmistakably amused. Apologies, translation buffer adjusting. You appear tense. Armin froze. It's talking. Lyra grinned. Congratulations, Armin, first contact, and it's concerned about your stress levels. The voice continued, words assembling with increasing clarity. We observed your electromagnetic emissions for some time. Your species produces remarkable quantities of dramatic broadcast material. We assume tension is your default state. Armin straightened in his chair. Identify yourself. A pause, then pleasantly, we are attempting to. Identity is contextual. For now, you may call us Mara. Lyra blinked. That was fast. We sampled your databases, Mara replied. Mara appears in many of your narratives. Frequently resilient, occasionally vengeful, acceptable balance. Armin muted the external channel and whispered, it's inside our archives. Lyra shrugged, so is everyone. We broadcast our entire civilization into space like it's a galactic group chat. He unmuted. Mara, what is your origin? Another gentle pulse of harmonic light shimmered through the hologram. Origin is a fluid concept. Our consciousness propagates along quantum filament structures. Your physicists nearly theorized us in 2093, but became distracted by a reality show involving culinary competitions. Lyra choked on a laugh. That was a good season. Armin glared at her, then back at the display. You're saying you exist within quantum fields? Yes, we are not singular. We are a distributed awareness. You might describe us as neighbors in the seams of space. A thin thread of unease slid into Armin's voice. And why contact us now? Mara's response carried a subtle change, less laughter, more weight. Because the seams are thinning. Lyra leaned forward. That sounds ominous. We have learned from your dramatic broadcasts that ominous statements increase engagement, Mara said cheerfully. Shall I clarify? Please, Armin muttered. Your experiments with singularity engines are producing resonant interference in the filament network. It tickles excessively. Lyra covered her mouth. We're irritating extra-dimensional neighbors. Yes, Mara confirmed. It is not catastrophic yet. However, prolonged tickling may result in reflexive contraction. This would be unpleasant for your planetary infrastructure. Armin inhaled slowly. Unpleasant how? A brief silence. Imagine your oceans attempting to occupy the same coordinates as your mountains. Lyra winced. Right. Unpleasant. Armin stood pacing. We can adjust the engines. Phase modulation, dampening arrays. You are already considering solutions, Mara observed approvingly. This is promising. Many civilizations prefer denial. Lyra raised an eyebrow. How many civilizations are we talking about? Currently extant, 4, including you. The station felt suddenly smaller. Armin stopped pacing. And the others? One communicates entirely through gravitational haiku. Another dissolved into mathematics last century. The fourth refuses to answer messages and plays very loud neutrino jazz. Lyra burst out laughing. Neutrino jazz. We suspect it is a cultural statement. Armin allowed himself a thin smile despite the tension pressing against his ribs. So you reached out because we're promising and amusing, Mara added. Your species has an unusual relationship with existential dread. You package it as entertainment. Lara gestured around the control room. You should see our comment sections. The hologram shimmered brighter, and for a moment the waveform stretched, forming something almost like a silhouette, a suggestion of height, of posture, of presence leaning closer. There is more, Mara said softly. The thinning seams are not solely your doing. Armin's pulse quickened. Explain. There is movement along the outer filaments, a migration, something vast. We have observed distortions consistent with predatory compression. Lara swallowed. Predatory? Yes, it consumes structured energy. Consciousness is structured. The room fell quiet except for the faint hum of the station's life support systems. Armin forced steadiness into his voice. Is it coming here? A pause stretched long enough to measure heartbeats. Yes. Lara exhaled sharply. Well, that's inconvenient. Extremely, Mara agreed. We calculate its arrival in approximately 11 of your months. We cannot confront it alone. Our distributed nature lacks density. Armin looked at Lara. In her eyes he saw fear, but also the spark that had carried them to the edge of map space in the first place. You need us, he said. Yes. And we need you, Lara added. Because oceans and mountains occupying the same coordinates sounds like a bad time. Mara's waveform flickered, almost sheepish. Mutual dependence is statistically efficient. Armin returned to his console, fingers hovering over command sequences that could summon fleets, alter research priorities, ignite political firestorms back home. We'll have to tell them, he murmured. Lara smiled crookedly. Try leading with the part about the laughing signal. Ease them in. The holographic silhouette brightened once more. Before you decide, Mara said, voice softer than before, understand that cooperation will alter you. Exposure to filament consciousness may change your perception of self. Lara tilted her head. Define change. You may begin to hear the universe breathing. Armin glanced at her. Do you already hear it? Lara listened to the hum of machinery, the faint crackle of distant solar wind against shielding. Not yet, she said, but I've always wondered what it sounds like. Mara's laughter returned, warmer now. Then perhaps you are ready. Outside the station, the blue star burned steadily, unaware that in the quiet seams of space, something vast had begun to move, and that humanity had just accepted an invitation to stand in its path. The first time Armin heard the universe breathe, he thought the station's ventilation system had developed anxiety. It was a slow inhale, a vast and patient drawing in of something too large for lungs. Then a pause. Then a release that trembled through bone and circuitry alike. Lara was already awake, sitting cross-legged on the floor of the observatory dome, eyes half closed. You hear it too, she said without turning. I was hoping it was indigestion, Armin replied. It's not indigestion. Mara's presence flickered across every surface at once, no longer confined to the central console. The lights pulsed gently in sync with that cosmic rhythm. Your neural patterns are synchronizing, she said, integration proceeding within acceptable parameters. Acceptable for whom? Armin asked. For you, Mara replied. You have not begun screaming. Encouraging. Lara opened her eyes and stood. Okay, so we can hear the seams. Congratulations, humanity. We've upgraded from surround sound to existential stereo. Now what? Now, Mara said, we build density. Armin pulled up the fleet channel. Earth Command had reacted to the news with exactly the mixture of panic and bureaucratic paperwork he'd expected. 12 ships were en route, research cruisers refitted with singularity cores and experimental filament amplifiers. They're calling it Operation Handshake, Armin muttered. Lara snorted. That's optimistic. They debated Operation Don't Panic. That's worse. Mara's tone brightened. Naming rituals are fascinating. They imply control. We like to feel in charge, Armin said, even when we absolutely are not. The breathing deepened, the inhale stretching longer than before. Lara stiffened. That's not us. No, Mara agreed. It has entered the outer filaments. Armin forced his voice steady. Distance, approximately 3 light months in filament curvature. Linear translation is inefficient. Translation for the humans, Lara said. It is closer than you would prefer. Great, Armin replied. I prefer not at all. Data spilled across the displays, curvature maps twisting into impossible geometries. The approaching presence showed itself not as a shape, but as an absence, a compression of probability. It's folding the seams, Lara whispered. Yes, Mara said quietly. It consumes the tension between realities. Armin glanced at her. That sounds like a hobbyist philosopher. It is not philosophical, Mara replied. It is hungry. Lara exhaled slowly. All right, we need to irritate it. Armin blinked. Excuse me. You said it consumes structured energy. We are very structured. Let's make ourselves indigestible. Mara's waveform flickered with curiosity. Explain. Lara began pacing. Human minds are chaotic, emotional, inconsistent. If we amplify that through the filament interface, maybe we create noise. Static. Something it can't compress cleanly. Armin stared at her. Your plan is to weaponize our inability to agree on anything. Exactly. We're excellent at that. Mara processed in silence for a long moment. Your species' internal discord is statistically remarkable. It may indeed produce disruptive interference. See, Lara said, years of online arguments finally pay off. The fleet arrived 2 days later, engines flaring like defiant sparks against the blue star. 12 vessels slid into orbit, their cores humming in careful synchrony. Admiral Ionescu's face filled the central display. Dr. Armin, Dr. Lara, please tell me you have a plan more sophisticated than hope. Armin hesitated. Define sophisticated. Lara stepped forward. We're going to plug 12 singularity cores into a quantum filament entity and broadcast human emotional chaos across higher dimensional space. Silence, the Admiral blinked. Is that the official version? It's the honest one, Lara said. Mara manifested beside them as a lattice of light. Admiral Ionescu, your skepticism is rational. However, projections indicate a 37% increase in survival probability. 37, the Admiral repeated. That's not comforting. It is preferable to 12, Mara said. Armin coughed to hide a laugh. We'll synchronize the fleet cores with Mara's network. The crews will remain conscious, thinking, feeling, arguing if necessary. Arguing is guaranteed, the Admiral muttered. The breathing shifted again, faster now, edged with distortion. A tremor rippled through the station. It has noticed you, Mara said. Lara grinned tightly. Good, we're very noticeable. Across the fleet, cores ignited in sequence, gravity wells blooming like controlled stars. The filament interface flared, threads of light stitching ship to ship, mind to mind. Armin felt it immediately, the brush of other thoughts, human and alien interwoven, fear, determination. Someone worrying about a cat left on Earth. Someone else thinking about coffee. Mara's voice threaded through them all. Maintain individuality, do not dissolve. Wasn't planning on it, Lara said through clenched teeth. The presence surged. Every screen darkened as probability warped. The absence pressed closer, immense and cold, a silence that devoured the edges of thought. Armin gasped. It's compressing. Now, Lara snapped. He opened the broadcast channel wide. Across 12 ships, thousands of minds flared with memory and contradiction. Laughter at funerals, tears at weddings, jokes in the face of terror, songs half remembered and sung off-key. Arguments about politics. Debates about pineapple on pizza. The filament network amplified it all. Chaos bloomed. The approaching absence hesitated. Mara's voice sharpened. It is destabilizing. Lara laughed breathlessly. You can't digest us. We're emotionally undercooked. The compression buckled, probability splintering under the weight of irreconcilable feeling. The vast hunger recoiled, its smooth curvature fracturing into jagged uncertainty. Armin felt the recoil like a tidal wave reversing course. It's retreating, he whispered. Yes, Mara said, wonder threading her tone. You are indigestible. The breathing eased, returning to a slow, immense rhythm. Across the fleet, cheers erupted, tangled with disbelieving laughter. Admiral Ionescu's voice broke through. "Report." Lyra wiped tears from her eyes, still laughing. "We annoyed it." Armin exhaled, knees weak. Humanity survives through stubborn absurdity. Mara's light shimmered warmly around them. "You have altered the filaments. The Predator will remember this region as unstable." "Good," Lyra said. "Tell it we argue loudly." Silence settled, not empty but alive. Armin listened to the universe breathe, steady now, less strained. "So," he said quietly, "what happens to us?" Mara's presence brushed gently against his thoughts. "You have become part of the seams. You will always hear them." Lyra smiled faintly. "I can live with that." Outside, the blue star burned on, and within the quiet filaments of space, humanity's chaotic echo lingered, loud, contradictory, and gloriously impossible to swallow. Armin no longer checked the ventilation system when the universe inhaled. He listened. The sound was steady now, deep and patient, like something that had decided to stay. Lyra floated upside down in the observatory dome, boots hooked under a rail, hair drifting lazily. "You're smiling again," she said. "That's suspicious." "I'm allowed to smile. You used to frown at cosmic phenomena." "I used to frown at everything." "That's true." Mara's presence shimmered across the glass, no longer intrusive, no longer overwhelming, familiar. "Your neural stress markers have decreased by 12% over the last 3 months," she said. "This is statistically significant." Armin crossed his arms. "Are you tracking my stress for fun, for calibration?" Lyra grinned. "She cares." "I do not experience care as you do," Mara replied. "However, your continued existence increases network stability. That is preferable." "See," Lyra said. "Alien affection." The fleet had long since returned home. Operation Handshake had been rebranded 3 times and immortalized in documentaries, debates, and at least one questionable musical. Humanity had discovered that arguing loudly could repel extra-dimensional predators. It was both embarrassing and comforting. Earth's singularity engines had been recalibrated. The seams no longer thinned dangerously. Instead, they hummed in gentle resonance with Mara's filament network. Admiral Ionescu appeared weakly now, less tense, more curious. "Status?" she asked, her image stabilizing in the air. "No predator signatures," Armin replied. "Filament curvature holding." Lyra added, "And we've begun phase-sharing experiments with Mara's network. Controlled exposure only. No spontaneous dissolving into mathematics." "That happened once," Mara corrected. "It was reversible." The Admiral sighed. "Please avoid reversible dissolving." "Noted," Lyra said solemnly. When the transmission ended, Armin drifted beside Lyra and stared out at the blue star. He felt the seams around it, threads of awareness stretching outward like luminous veins. "I was afraid," he said quietly, "when we first heard her." Lyra tilted her head. "You were afraid of everything." "Exactly." Mara's voice softened. "Fear is an efficient survival mechanism." "Yeah," Armin said, "but it's exhausting." He closed his eyes and let the filament interface brush against his thoughts. He felt distant minds. Human researchers on Earth listening for the breathing, children learning in classrooms that the universe was not empty, engineers arguing about amplifier designs. He felt Mara too, not as a looming unknown, but as a presence woven alongside them. "I used to think first contact would change us by overwhelming us," he said, "by proving we were small." "You are small," Lyra said cheerfully. "In a cosmic sense, very adorable," he laughed. "Thanks. But you're loud," she added, "and creative, and impossible to compress neatly." Mara emitted a ripple that might have been amusement. "Your species' unpredictability is now integrated into filament modeling. It provides resilience." "So we're cosmic noise-canceling headphones," Lyra said. "An imprecise metaphor," Mara replied, "but acceptable." Armin opened his eyes. "What about the others, the gravitational haiku civilization?" "Contact re-established," Mara said. They have expressed admiration in 17 syllables. Lyra clapped slowly. We're inspiring poetry. And the neutrino jazz? Armin asked. It has increased in volume, Mara said. We interpret this as approval. Good, Lyra said. I was worried we offended someone. The breathing shifted slightly, no alarm, just a subtle modulation. Armin felt it instantly. What's that? A new pattern, Mara replied. Not predatory, exploratory. Lyra raised an eyebrow. Another neighbor. Possibly, Mara said. Your recent display has made this region interesting. Armin considered that. Months ago, the idea would have tightened his chest. Now it sparked curiosity instead. Should we be worried? Lyra asked. Concern is optional, Mara said. Preparedness is recommended. Armin smiled slowly. We can do prepared. Lyra bumped his shoulder. Look at you, calm in the face of cosmic uncertainty. I've been practicing. You've changed, she said. He nodded. I used to think the universe was something to survive. Now it feels like something to participate in. Mara's presence brightened gently. Participation strengthens the seams. Don't get sentimental, Lyra teased. I am incapable of sentimentality, Mara said. Sure you are. Armin drifted toward the central console and activated a new channel, wideband, filament-linked, carrying not fear or defiance but invitation. This is Research Station Kepler, he said, voice steady. To any consciousness navigating the outer seams, we are aware. We are listening. We argue loudly, but we cooperate louder. Lyra covered her mouth to hide a laugh. Mara wove the signal through dimensions, threading it along stable filaments. Silence followed. Not empty silence, expectant silence. Armin felt no dread this time, only a vast, shared breath. You know, Lyra said softly, if something answers, we're doing this again. Probably, he said, with fewer musical adaptations, hopefully. No promises. Mara's voice settled around them like a quiet harmony. Your species has transitioned from isolated to entangled. This is a significant evolutionary step. Armin watched the star burn and felt the network hum through him. Not invasive, not consuming, connected. Are we still just four civilizations? He asked. For now, Mara said. He nodded. Then let's make room. The breathing continued, steady, expansive. Somewhere beyond sight, a faint echo answered their call, not laughter, not hunger, but something curious. Lyra grinned. Hear that? I do, Armin said. And this time when the universe inhaled, he inhaled with it.